In this video today, we're going to be going over exactly how to rewire your dopamine receptors to take back control of your life, because the reality is our dopamine receptors, our soul, our attention is just being filtered and controlled by the upper family. So I mean, we need to take control over this dopamine so that way we can rewire ourselves to be able to get ourselves out of the shitty lives into creating a life where we don't need to escape from and a life of travel, freedom, and everything in between. So we're going to go ahead and dive straight in. And a preface to this video is that this is all based on bro science and personal experience. I don't know any scientific studies, any actual names of any chemicals that dopamine affects. I just know dopamine is like one of the chemicals in the brain that like gets you to do shit. But yeah, the only studies I can base off of is from my personal experience and just common sense. And yeah, like I said, dopamine is the motivation chemical that makes you even do shit in the first place, whether it be waking up, making money online, going to the club. Dopamine is the driving factor for all of these things. Whether that be doing things that have a positive ROI or a negative one, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you're wired to is what you're going to be motivated to do. So yeah, most people are wired to grind in the complete wrong direction. They're like, it's been a long week of going to school, maybe work, and they're like, okay, they're not getting that much dopamine from work. You know, it's boring. You're making money, but you're not really having any type of fun or enjoyment. So the only way you're going to be getting dopamine is by going to the club, playing video games, smoking weed, jerking off, drinking. Like, these are the only things that people get dopamine from, like just on an average kind of basis. They're not getting it from like doing the hard work to get out of the 9 to 5, learning high income skills, training. Like, they're just completely grinding in the wrong direction. That is because their dopamine receptors are just completely reversed and locked in and wired on the wrong things. So yeah, the thing is 99% of people fry their dopamine before they're even fully awake, which is probably one of the biggest causes of why so many people are just stuck exactly where they are for years and years, and maybe for the entirety of their lives, is because they just never even give themselves a chance. And in this video, I'll be going over exactly how I changed my life by rewiring my dopamine receptors to actually love doing the hard shit that no one wants to do, so that way I can start making money and start traveling the world. So yeah, a quick recap of my dopamine timeline of pretty much like how I got out of the regular situation that 99% of people are in into the situation that only 1% of... my friend is sending me a list of modafinil sourcing, which is cool. But yeah, my dopamine is relatively normal until TikTok came out in high school. Like, I was just a normal kid, you know, going outside, playing, knocking on my friends' doors to play outside, and yeah, just having a great time. Just normal dopamine, you know, video games here and there, which is, video games totally isn't that bad because you're still building up your focus and your attention span. But it's at the point where like you're playing video games and during the loading screen you go on TikTok. That's when it gets kind of messed up. So yeah, after TikTok came out, I got very much addicted to short form content, but still have yet to ever drink or smoke at this point. I didn't drink till later on in high school, as we'll kind of go into the story. My last year of high school, I injured my ankle for basketball. You know, I was playing on the varsity team. I think it was the 11th grade or 12th grade year where I just got hurt, injured my ankle during practice, and I was out for the entirety of the season. And being out after working each and every single morning and night, like practicing basketball, it's just like you had all this time to spend entirely on basketball, and now that you can't, so much time opens up that you're not really used to. So for myself, I was really bored. I went to my friend's house, you know, went to go have a slumber party, you know, as guys, like, that was looking like back to where we are now. We don't really sleep over at a friend's house, but like back then that was like a pretty normal thing, you know, just hang out with the boys, play video games, all that type of stuff. But yeah, that's when I first took a hit of the Benjamin Franklin, and you know, it was actually a pretty crazy story the first time I tried weed. It was just like I smoked it, and I didn't really feel anything, to be honest. But it was I think it was the same night or like the next week, and I ate like a edible. It was like a little gummy bear. It had like maybe, I have no idea actually how much weed it was in there, but that shit was very strong. I ate that, and then like 30 minutes later, an hour later, I was just like, I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I couldn't breathe. I started thinking that the only way I could breathe is by drinking water. It was just completely messed up in my mind. And I think for me, I don't know about you guys, but like with weed, it's just like if I smoke or take an edible, I just become kind of schizophrenic. And that's why I stopped in the first place, is because I started hearing like negative voices. I start feeling like I'm going to die. It's all of these things that just don't really work in my brain. Uh, but yeah, and I started drinking as well my senior year. Actually, very funny story with my first time ever drinking. It was with one of my basketball teammates, and I mean, he knows if he's watching this. 100% chance he's probably not watching this, but yeah, I went to his apartment, and it was like a frat house, and the goal. Okay, this is too much of a long story. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I knew of an NBA player, or like this pro player playing basketball. He was inviting me to this party that was close to my friend's frat house, so I went to the frat house, and then the pro basketball player guy, he like didn't go to the party anymore, and I didn't have a car. I mean, I was like too young, and I didn't bring my car anyways. But then yeah, my friend also left, so then I was just alone in my friend's frat house, and it was like the 4th of July or some shit. So I was just like looking at the cabinet. I saw a big little thing of Jack Daniels, and I was like, I don't know why, but I was like pretty depressed that night for some reason. I think it was about a girl. But then I just started drinking, and I drank a little bit more, and I was watching the fireworks, and then I don't know, I just got like pretty depressed. I don't know, like when you drink, I feel like the intention you have behind drinking is like going to be amplified. So I already was going into my first ever drink with a very bad mindset, like, oh, I'm all alone, 4th of July, what am I doing with my life? And I just kept drinking and drinking and drinking. Then the next thing I know, I'm throwing up in a toilet. Like, I just passed out completely, by the way. So yeah, I was throwing up in the toilet. Apparently my friends, they came home, and there was like a broken lamp, and I was just passed out on the balcony. I peed on the balcony, I threw up on the balcony, and I had no idea. And I just woke up and was throwing up and barely alive. They had to like put their fingers in my throat to make me throw up the alcohol. But yeah, very gruesome story. That was a bit off track. But yeah, I combined both of these, weed and alcohol, with short form content, and my dopamine was now absolutely fried. And with it being completely fried, I never really got any clarity on my life ever since starting that. Like, I had some clarity like middle of high school, like what I kind of wanted to do with my life, but then I kind of went on autopilot mode for like 3 or 4 years, where I just was like not really fully awake. I wasn't fully conscious. I was just always overstimulated, frying my dopamine receptors, and I was just always distracted. And combining both of these with short form content, I just was like completely grinding in the wrong direction. And because of this, with no clarity, no direction in my life, I was like, okay, I'll just do whatever happens. I don't really care. Let's just keep going. Whatever happens, happens. So I just went to university, just because that's where just things, that's kind of where life was leading. So I was like, okay, cool, sounds good. That's when I went to university. But yeah, following that, we're going to go over exactly how I got to where I am today by fixing my dopamine receptors and linking my dopamine to things that actually produce an ROI compared to something where it just destroys my life. So yeah, I went to college for about a year, and then I tried shrooms for the first time, and I tried them again and again, and I tried it one time alone at my friend's apartment. It was like a 5-gram shroom trip, and during this shroom trip, I was just like in my friend's dorm room alone, like doing push-ups, playing Attack on Titan music, and then it was like about to be like the peak, and I didn't know like what a peak was during the time, but I was like, oh shit, what is this feeling? And I look up, stand up, look at myself in the mirror, and that's when I realized like how shit my life was. I looked at myself, I was like, what a fucking loser. Going in debt in university, smoking every day, drinking every weekend, shaggy hair, getting a little bit chubby. Or I was never like really chubby, but just like I just looked super inflamed from all the shit food that I was eating, all the shit drinks, all the alcohol. I was just looked completely like garbage. And I just had like a really serious like kind of one-on-one. I didn't really talk, I was just like talking within. I was like, damn, if I really just keep going down this path of like going to university, I'm never going to learn any actual valuable skills. I'm going to go deeper and deeper in debt. I'm going to keep losing more brain cells from drinking, partying, and then I was surrounded by complete losers as well. So I just knew if I just kept going down this path, it's just going to keep getting worse. So that's when I realized that I was going to drop out. And we already paid for like the next semester of college, so I still went the next semester, cut out the weed, cut out the alcohol, and started like the self-improvement type stuff. But yeah, I dropped out 6 months later. And then after dropping out with only the very limited skills and knowledge that I had from learning from a fake guru in university, the only thing that I knew to even make money in the first place was to work a 9 to 5. So I started working 2 9-to-5s, one at Racetrack, one at Red Lobster from like 4 a.m. No, I woke up at 4 a.m., started the shift at 5 a.m., and worked until 1 p.m. and then had like an hour or two before I had to go work at Red Lobster, so I went to the gym, did all that type of stuff. But But yeah, pretty much I replaced the porn and weed with video games and clubbing because I dropped out, started working 2 9 to 5. The whole goal was to make money, and the thing is like how I fixed the dopamine, and instead of like getting dopamine from porn and weed, which is what I was doing pretty much every other day in university, I replaced them with video games and clubbing, which is like a little bit better, but still not where we want to be. But we're moving ourselves up the ladder, which is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, a few weeks after working the 9 to 5, and mind you, I did not take shrooms like a week apart. This was like maybe almost 8 months apart, like the 5 gram and the 4 gram shroom trip. Don't take shrooms that often, maybe like once or twice a year. But yeah, I took a pretty big dose of shrooms, and I can't really talk about it, but let's just say after watching that movie, I decided to start boxing the next day. And if you guys know which movie I'm talking about, you know, but if you don't, you don't, so it's okay. But yeah, then after boxing, I then replaced video games with boxing. So now I replaced, because I love boxing. Like after the first spar I had the very first time I went to a boxing club, I was like, this shit is fire. Like there's nothing like after your very first spar, you're super nervous, your adrenaline is pumping, and you know, the people at that gym were not holding back. They're all like Latino guys who like lay bricks all day, so their fists are just full of bricks. So, you know, they hit pretty hard. So I mean, after surviving that spar and driving back home, I had no other like dopamine hit or like peace, or I don't know, there's nothing like it. Just driving home knowing I survived and did something that I never thought I would do was just an ultimate game changer. So yeah, I ultimately replaced video games with boxing because I just, you know, boxing was a lot more enjoyable to me than video games. And that's when I started watching Thailand videos. And after watching Thailand videos for a while and watching like self-improvement videos, making money online videos, a few months later, I took another 2.5 grams of shrooms. And that's when I was like thinking to myself, like, what type of life am I living? Like I'm dropped out of university, great. I'm making money, great, but I don't have any time freedom. I don't have any location freedom. And I would never be able to have any sort of financial freedom because I'm only making like $14 an hour, $15 an hour. And that's when I realized, like, if I ever want to travel, if I ever want to live on my own terms, I just need to start living that life and just do whatever it takes to make life happen for me, if that makes sense. Like I was like, okay, I could save and save and save. I could learn how to make money online in my house, but like, if I never go out there and take that risk and put myself in a position where I have to make it work, I might never get to where I want to go as fast as I want to get there. So that's when I decided for myself, I'm going to go to Thailand. I'm going to start living out my life how I want and doing what I want to do when I want to do it. And of course, I didn't have the capital, but I had the dream. And luckily enough for me, I had a friend. He's like a 60-year-old. I don't know. He's like an ex-drug dealer, very well-off type of guy. But he knew of my dream of coming out here to Thailand, making it work. And he knew I was pretty broke as well. So he's like, Ryan, look, here's $1,500. Just pay me back within a year, no interest. And I already paid him back, of course. But, you know, W guy. I don't want to say his name just in case. But, yeah, at this point, I replaced both clubbing and video games with boxing and focusing all of my dopamine on making money online. Because the thing is, like, with this kind of story that I'm telling you guys is, like, the thing with, like, fixing your dopamine receptors is that you can't just stop doing the bad habits and that's it. That's not how it works. You have to quit the bad habits and find something that's actually meaningful to you, that actually helps you move the needle forward to where you want to go. Because if you just quit video games and replace it with reading books, okay, I mean, that's great. You know, you're maybe reading a few pages a day, but I mean, reading books, what is that actually going to do for you? Is that going to help you make any sort of money? Probably not. So you need to find something to replace that bad habit with something that's actually deep and meaningful to help you improve your life in a way, shape, or form where you're actually able to make money, get a better body, get better looks, get better girls, just something where it's actually helping you move the needle tangibly instead of just like masturbating where it's just like, oh yeah, I took an ice bath and now I feel amazing. I'm now the best man in the world. It's just not that, it's not going to happen like that. But yeah, what I've learned is that you can't just quit. Yeah, this is pretty much what I just said, so we'll skip that part. But yeah, why dopamine is so important is because, I forgot to read this. Yeah, dopamine is very important because it's really the only thing that drives you. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to read this. If the only thing that drives you is going to the club or watching porn, you're cooked. Yeah, I'm having a brain fart. I had too many sales calls today. But yeah, you'll never work hard to make more money to create the life that you want if your dopamine is only focused on going to the club or watching porn. I think that's what I was trying to say there. So yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true. If you're just like putting all of your energy into the wrong things, you're not going to have any leftover energy into doing the things that actually help you improve your life. And so that's what it takes. That's why it takes rewiring your dopamine system to love the grind to get to the top. Because if you're only loving the grind to stay where you are or to grind in the wrong direction, like you're just gonna be absolutely fried. Because if you can't even watch this video entirely because of TikTok brain, you're absolutely cooked as well. And yeah, I'll be going over a few methods that helped me in the past to greatly reset my dopamine receptors to love doing shit that would eventually change my life, aka learning to do hard shit that no one wants to do so you can live the life that most only dream of. So yeah, number one is just fasting. 48 to 110 hour fast has definitely helped me tons in gaining clarity on my life and what I want to do as well by being able to see what habits are truly holding me back and how I replace them. Because like with fasting, when you don't eat 2 or 3 times a day, you have a lot more time than you think throughout the day. And during this time off that you're not spending eating and in fact just gaining clarity and reflecting on your life, you're actually able to sit back with yourself and listen to that voice within, journaling, meditating, and are able to see what's going on in your life. And with fasting, of course, it kind of decreases your dopamine as well, where it makes everything a lot more enjoyable and a lot more, I guess, like more peaceful, if that makes sense. Like with overstimulation of like eating 3 meals a day, watching TikTok, watching sports, smoking, drinking, you're just like absolutely cooking your your dopamine receptors. But like when you're fasting, you have really no stimulation or dopamine. So you're bringing it back down to baseline to see exactly which habits you want to start doing again once you start eating again. But number 2 is shrooms. 2 to 4 grams plus alone, or with the right group of people, has definitely changed my life after having multiple trips that have altered the course of my life in a good way, by taking a very deep look within myself to see who I need to become in order to start building out my dream life. For example, I have taken shrooms a few times where it was with a wrong group of people, and each one of those trips were completely shit. Like, I did not enjoy them whatsoever. But surrounding myself with the right people or doing them alone and having an intention behind the trip has definitely improved my life each and every single time. And I think the reason this is the case is because when you take shrooms, again, this is just bro science, this is just how I kind of think of it for myself, it kind of resets your brain. And not in terms of like it just destroys your memories or who you are, it just resets your dopamine and how you think of the world and just kind of gives you a new perspective on your life. Because sometimes you just go throughout your life kind of just on AFK. Like you're not really conscious and self-conscious of the habits you're doing, what you're thinking, and all of these things. But when you take shrooms, you're able to look at the thought loops and thought patterns that you're having to see whether or not some of these thoughts and actions and habits that you're doing are helping you or destroying you. And that's one of the biggest benefits I've seen with shrooms, is that you're able to kind of look at the settings of your brain to see what settings need to be turned on, what need to be turned off, what thoughts you need to replace with good ones. Because like with going through your day-to-day life, like sober, not knowing what's going on, you're just kind of AFK, you just kind of go with the flow. You don't really notice anything. But with shrooms, you're able to kind of take a step back and look at yourself, your brain, your habits, your thoughts from a third-person perspective and see exactly what's holding you back from getting to where you're trying to go. Then number 3 is just a simple dopamine detox. These don't really work that well, to be honest. Just simply cutting out the weed, the junk food, the social media, the corn, drinking, and video games for 7 to 14 days will definitely help you reset your dopamine as well as starting new habits. But it just takes way too long, to be honest. Like, who has 7 to 14 days, especially if you're like, you need social media for business, for networking, for posting content. Like, it's just pretty hard to do these days. And number 4 is just doing hard shit. Running, doing ice baths, sparring, and gym are all great things to do. They can do just for a few minutes a day, a few hours a day. That increase your stress levels to the point where afterwards, all the hard shit that you have to do, like whether it be sales calls, doing work for marketing, outreaching, learning a high income skill, all of these things become easy because you've already done the hard thing. So now after you're doing the very hard thing, everything else becomes easy. It's just like if you're training to run a 5K and you run a marathon to train for a 5K, the 5K is going to be easy. It's the exact same thing with that. And the thing I want to kind of touch on as well is that you need to be able to avoid overstimulation. And the way to do this, because like if you're just overstimulated, always doing task to task to task to task, and just working for the sake to work, to say, yeah, I've been working all day. But the reality is like some of the work that you're doing is just very low ROI. You might be doing the shittiest work, like, oh yeah, I'll start here, changing tabs, doing this a little bit, doing that a little bit. You're just kind of all over the place. And this is because you're overstimulated. So to avoid overstimulation, it's an absolute must to have quiet time in the day, to reflect on your current situation, your life, and your goals, to see exactly what you're doing right in the day, what you're doing wrong, so now we can turn those wrongs into rights and help you actually do meaningful tasks throughout the day. Because without time to think, you will just be constantly stimulated and never having real clarity on the actions that you're taking. And clarity is absolutely key to leveling up, as if you don't have any conviction or deep why with the actions that you're doing on an hourly basis, these actions will be pretty much rendered useless. So just turn off your phone and laptop and just go for a walk with no music, just lay in your bed, meditate, journal, or simply just sit still in your chair, maybe even at your laptop, and just listen to that voice within. Just be with yourself for a little bit just to see exactly how you're feeling, get in tune, and feel out your body so that we can go back to work knowing exactly what you're working on and which task is the highest priority to do in that current moment. Anyone can set aside 15 to 30 minutes a day for this, and even after one session, you'll get some clarity and reset your dopamine for the next task. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it for the video. I'm about to go smack down some Japanese buffet, and I'll call it a night at that point. So it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Boom.